Hey everybody, what is going on? Daryl, aka the D, simply incredible disc golf chat. We're very excited to have the legend herself, Ace Baby, Rebecca Minnick. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Very excited to be on your podcast.
This is awesome. We've been talking for a while now, and finally the stars aligned.
Yes. I'm glad it worked out. Glad I made time, especially before I head off to Texas and everything. That's going to be busy. But, just let me know if you want me on again, and we'll work something out for later on in the season. Who knows?
Now, you mentioned that I do have ideas.
Okay. Well, we'll to be continued to discuss later.
I was gonna say I could tell you right, but no. Okay. First off,
it's up to you.
Before we get rolling, there's a few shout outs. First off, River City Ladies League. They follow me on Instagram, and around here locally, here in Lynchburg, Virginia, there's not a lot of women players. So when they follow me, and I saw pictures of their league, lots of women players. Congratulations, ladies. I love to see that. I think that is awesome. So big shout out to you all. Hey, follow them on Instagram, River City Ladies League. Now, were you ever in that, or do you know?
I don't believe I was. I know, I bought some merchandise from a couple different leagues, ladies leagues, but I honestly can't remember which ones they were right now. I know one.
Because it just so happened that right after you posted about it, they followed me. So I was like, y'all must know each other some way or another.
Yeah, I think I got with the names of different groups, and so I'm probably completely blanking on some information that I should remember.
So I mean, again, awesome to see a bunch of ladies out there. I wish we had local leagues like that for just women. In our leagues, there's like maybe 4 or 5 that play, but they're in kind of like 3 different leagues. So you never see more than a couple in one.
Yeah. So, in like Brooke Johnson, and Brooke Johnson was an hour and a half, 2 hours away from me. So I mean, pretty much never even played together. We played together at like Am Worlds and then at US Women's and other places, but we didn't really ever see each other locally. And I was pretty much one of the only girls locally where I started in Blacksburg, Virginia.
Yeah, Brooke, she is local here. She is in our Peaks and Creeks League, and she is actually on the board of that league. So I'm discussing with Brooke to have her on as well soon.
Yeah, she's
Brooke. And 2 things I thought this was awesome. Within about a month of one another, Macy Valadez, she announced she is pregnant. Yay, Macy. And just yesterday, I think it was, Katrina Allen, her and Austin Hannum announced that they will be expecting soon. So good for them.
So cool. Everyone's having little disc golf.
Yeah. Paul Macbeth's son will be having dates. So he will be just a little bit younger than him. So that'd be awesome. So I just wanted to make a shout out to them because that's awesome. Now, we start with you. The first question we always ask: how did you get started in disc golf?
So I had played disc golf casually maybe a handful of times, starting probably around undergrad, the time I was in undergrad, and a couple in grad school. Never really got into it because I had played Ultimate. I started playing Ultimate in undergrad, and I got really involved in that. I just love sports in general and staying active. And so I played Ultimate Frisbee a lot, and disc golf just didn't fly like Ultimate disc. I was very used to those very flippy discs. So continue to play Ultimate Frisbee. I organized a pretty large pickup group in Blacksburg, Virginia, right near Virginia Tech, where I was going to grad school. And COVID happened. And then fast forward to towards the middle end of 2020, and a local pro shows up, and he's a disc golfer, of course. And he joins the group, starts playing Ultimate with us, and he gets me into disc golf. And it was very quick, where it was Ultimate Frisbee was up here, disc golf was kind of here, and very quickly it shifted to where disc golf was my number one. I still love ultimate frisbee and it's super fun, and I miss that, but disc golf has my heart as the number one. So that's kind of how it got started, and I became very much like a form nerd, and I really love like the body mechanics of it and trying to figure out different ways to help me learn something. Like if I had a part of an aspect of my form that was off, really isolating that particular area and figuring out how to learn it. I'm also very much a teacher by nature. I tutored math and chemistry in college and grad school and stuff. And I just really love helping not only myself like figure out how to learn something, but I also love helping other people figure out how to learn something. So that was sort of the base of getting that figured out and really working on my technique, which I had never done with another sport, surprisingly. Like I played softball in college, I ran cross country, I did other things, but I never really practiced them. It just wasn't something I think some of it was like an insecurity thing where I was afraid if I practiced that I still wouldn't be good enough. So I didn't want to practice that much and then not be good enough. But I kind of like, so age helped some. I'm glad that I found disc golf when I did, even though I was a little bit older than some. I was just about 30 when I found it. So I've been involved for a little over 3 years now. But yeah, that's how I got into it. So it was someone that joined my ultimate frisbee pickup group. So from one disc to many more discs.
So that's one thing I've seen a lot with younger people that's playing is it seems like everyone has come from ultimate.
There's a good number. I know Nid, she's ultimate player. Leah, was an ultimate player.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many more. They're slipping my mind right now, but I know a lot of disc golfers who have an ultimate frisbee background.
Ella.
Oh yeah, Ella. I've actually
some guy named Brody.
Yeah, bro. I've actually tossed an ultimate frisbee disc for a while in a field with Ella Hansen at U.S. Women's last year.
Nice. She is somebody I want to meet and talk to. She just seems like a ball of fun.
Yeah. I've been on cards with her twice now. Once at North Cove last year. That was my very last disc golf pro tour event before health stuff. And then actually not throw down the mountain. It's at that location, but chess.com invitational this past week. She was on my card the first round, and then she far surpassed me, and so I did not see her again.
Yeah, I did see that you posted pictures of people down there, and I saw you and her on the tee pad. I was like, that's pretty doggone awesome.
Yeah, no, she's been fun to play with. I've enjoyed being on the card with her. She's very good, very impressive to watch.
Yeah, she's one of the people that I said if I could pick a group of people for FPO to be on a card with me, she is one of them for sure. Evelina is one because when I watch her, I got from her the ability to hit a tree and turn around and still have a big smile on my face. So she always has that big smile. And I'm just like, if she can do it competing for big tournaments, what's my issue? You're just throwing out here these small little courses. So
yeah, I wish awesome. I had more FPO coverage. I saw some of it, but when I first got started, the guy that got me into disc golf, we dated for a while, and we watched a lot of Jomez. Like he loved Jomez Pro, and so I saw a lot of the guys, and sometimes we would watch the females play too, and enjoyed that as well. It was just only so much time in a day,
Right.
Really enjoyed that. So it's been cool to get to, I feel like now I'm getting to see a little bit more coverage, and I want to see even more and watch these women because they're just so impressive. It's in these rounds. I mean, both Evelina and Ella this past weekend were an average of over 1,000 rated, which is, it's crazy. That's crazy. It's so exciting.
Mm-hmm. And then Henna threw in an ace in the All-Star Challenge too. So. How many aces does Ace Baby have?
5.
That's 5 more than I have.
And my first 2 were less than a week apart. My first 3 are all at tournaments. So I didn't even have a casual round ace until I had already gotten 3 tournament aces.
Wow.
That was part of the reason why I ended up coming up with the name Ace Baby. So I got my first 2 aces within a year of starting. Pretty much, it was like right at about the year mark, and I threw in a flick ace, like downhill. My very first tournament, that was actually at the Battle for Bedford, which was Paul Macbeth, Brody Smith, Zach Melton. I forget who else was Luke Sampson. That's
Luke
actually
Sampson's there. Yep.
And so I remember I got that ace, and it was like the tournament that they were all playing, you know, the big New London Tech, which is one of the main courses that's going to be used for Pro Worlds this year. And yeah, it was very exciting to get my first ace. And then that was on a Sunday. And then the next Saturday, I was in another tournament, and it was a water carry island hole. And
Wow.
and it was very exciting.
Yeah.
So, and then it was a while before I got my next ace. Again, it was a tournament, and now I've gotten 2 casual round aces. So I always say I've gotten 3 tournament aces, and I have 2 casual round aces. So I need to get at least 1 more casual round ace before I can get another tournament ace.
You got to bring them together. That's right.
We'll see if that works out. You know, I really like symmetry. So,
do you know what course it was for the Battle of Bedford? Was that Falling Creek?
Fallen Creek was my very first ace.
Okay, because I was at New London that whole time, and I know the FBO, the women were playing down at Fallen Creek, and I wanted to go. I didn't have time to go to both.
Yeah, so we played multiple courses, and I was actually FA2 at that point.
Okay.
I was still intermediate, and I was getting really close to where I was about the time to move up to advance to FA, but I wasn't quite there. In fact, I think that was actually my last tournament in FA2, and then I moved up right after that, I believe.
I hate to ask this because it's been so long. Do you know which hole that was?
It was hole 9, I believe.
Okay, because it kind of goes down, and it's between 2 big trees, and it kind of fades back just a touch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. I've played that many times.
I think we played that one and Manita probably, and we may have played another course, but no, I think it was Falling Creek, Manita, and then Falling Creek again, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so, Manita's a very hilly course.
You can definitely get yourself into some trouble at Manita.
Yes,
but it's a fun course. But I've gotten chiggers there twice.
And I can't remember which hole it is. If you get a little too much hyzer, you'll end up on a railroad track in Manita. Also, in that case, the train did not come while you were playing, because when I was there, I mean, the train just come right by. I was like, oh my gosh, it's right there.
Yeah, I haven't. That's one of those things. If you don't see the train, then you probably wouldn't notice.
You would not know it's there. Yeah.
I have the most crazy story. It was kind of a little sad about train tracks on a course. So I forget what the course is. It's in Richmond. You will probably know what it is, but there is this I'd say it's probably a well-known hole, because the hole literally goes along an old train track. It like starts, and you can't even see the basket because the train tracks kind of like go around a bend, and so it's out of sight from the tee pad. Very tough hole. So I played a tournament there, and I think we had 1 or 2 rounds there. Anyway, I threw a backhand, this most beautiful, most perfect, like flip up backhand. And I was playing with like Autumn, and she was like, wow, that's like the best drive I've ever seen on this hole. And we were listening for chains. You know, we thought maybe it could have been ace, but at least, you know, okay, I'll get a birdie. Well, we went there and we searched for my disc and could not find it anywhere. Like, I even went back afterwards and tried to find it, and I ended up getting like a 7 on that hole. Oh. It was so bad, but it's a very cool hole. Like, it's a really, really unique hole. I'd never really seen anything like that, because the train tracks were on this big, the word is escaping me, but you know, the train tracks were like much higher than the rest of the ground, and there were drop-offs on either side. So,
the trestle?
Yeah. So who knows exactly where my disc ended up, but that's fun train track story. I will never forget that moment. And then someone found my disc like months and months later, like way, way, way later, and texted me. And then I was like, okay, I'm not here, but like, I'll get it, I'll get it back. I was going to like pay him to have him send my disc back or whatever. And then I couldn't ever find the text message again. It was like, it just disappeared. And so I never got my disc back. It was very sad. It was like my Roadrunner. I used it all the time. It was a yellow Roadrunner that was like one of my main drivers. And so not only did I get a 7 on that hole, but I lost like my favorite driver. Oh. I'm sure we all have very similar stories.
It's funny because the Roadrunner has recently become one of the best discs in my bag. So I feel your pain there.
Yeah, I don't use it really much anymore. I feel like the Marlin, Neptune Disc Marlin, is a pretty good substitute. That one can be a little more flippy, I think, but it's just it's a different feel. It's a little different feel than the Star Plastic, but still the Roadrunner has a special place in my heart. It was a very, very trusty disc for a long time. Who knows? Maybe I'll bring it back.
There you go. How many discs does Neptune have now? Because I keep seeing 3, I think.
There's 4.
Okay.
Yes. So they just came out with the main 3 that you see last like August, September. So it's very recent. And the one before, I think, was at some point the year before. So that was before I started being sponsored by them in 23, and then just recently re-signed with them for the 2024 season. We can talk about that more later, but I believe 22 was when they came out with the squid. And so it was manufactured before, but there were like a little bit of issues with that initially. I think they got it fixed, and now it's actually back. I believe you can purchase it unless everyone has purchased all of them up. I'm not really sure. I haven't checked, but that one was kind of like a standalone disc. And then well over a year later, they came out with 3 really amazing discs. Like I don't say that. I don't care if like I'm sponsored by someone or not. I'm not going to support something or endorse something if I don't truly believe it myself. But like the Nautilus, their mid-range, is just such an amazing disc. It flies really well. I played a short little 9-hole today, and one of my 2 birdies was with the Nautilus. And it's just such a fun, it's like so glidey, but then it's very reliable, like goes back at the end. And then their Marlin is their driver. It's very beginner friendly, super flippy, really, really fun disc. And then their Splash, they have them like base and premium plastic. So and it's a fantastic disc too. Like it's pretty stable, like it's not flippy. It's pretty stable. It'll really like hold up. And I find that I can often throw that putter like farther than I can throw my mid-ranges or even sometimes driver. It just keeps going.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, they're all really great discs. The squid, maybe I didn't give the squid enough of a chance. It wasn't quite the right disc for me, I feel. But again, I don't know if I gave it enough of a chance. I feel like I need to kind of go back and try it again. But they're 3 new discs. I don't know how they could have done like a better job with 3 new discs with the range of type of discs that they have and just how fantastic they fly.
Nice. So I need to try them because I've never tried any of their discs. So I definitely need to do that.
Yes. Well, at some point this year, there will be a my stamp on some of probably all of their discs. So maybe you can wait a little bit.
I can postpone it a little bit.
You can get one of Ace Baby's stamped discs from Neptune, or go ahead and get you one now. Do both,
I mean, they are here in Virginia, so maybe they'll set up at Worlds.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think there's. I'm not sure exactly their plans for that, but that would be very reasonable. I think they're also. Yeah, so I think their products are there, but they're also in like out of Virginia Beach too. But I'm pretty sure products are in like Lynchburg, actually.
Yeah. I was talking to one of the guys and he was saying that they have a place here where they ship a lot of stuff out of. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Cool. It's out of Lynchburg, if I'm not mistaken.
One of the things that I definitely want to talk about is we kind of we're up here, never going to drop it down a little bit, then we'll bring it back later. But it's the medicals. You took time off, so let's go into that because I've had a ton of medical issues, but none of this. So tell me how everything went about, how you found out, and everything.
Yes. So it has been quite the whirlwind of like a year and a half. So I've always had like some stomach issues and everything, but it have over years and years like worked on my diet and really gotten to a good place with that. I was doing very well. Like used to have headaches all the time, not be able to sleep well. And working on that was partially even like a mental sort of a thing and working on like the things that people don't like to talk about, like that we can actually work on our mind and our brain and the way we think and our emotions and how to deal with situations. And I just didn't have a very good way of dealing with stress and anxiety and stuff like that. And so I think I just put it all in my body, and then that came out in bad health, you know. So had figured a lot of that stuff out and was doing really well. And then I don't know if this is stuff from like before it ended. I'll kind of say the end result of what it was, and then I'll backtrack a little bit and talk about that more. But I ended up finding out from surgery that I had endometriosis, which people can look that up if they're interested in it. But it's something that women can get. It's very painful. It's can produce stuff on the outside, like in your lower abdomen, and then that can create cysts, which is what happened. And then those cysts got bigger and bigger. It turned into a tumor, and then half of it had solidified, and the tumor was like 4 by 3.5 inches big. So it was very big. Once I realized I had the tumor, I was like, I don't know how I didn't see this. I just thought I was like spasming. And so it was hard for that reason. But no, it was this big tumor in my lower abdomen, which did indeed end up being cancer. And so backtrack probably a good 8 months to maybe even a year, I've been having pain. So back in Thanksgiving of 22 was when it really started to get pretty severe. Like I had a pretty severe episode, and I ended up going to the emergency room. And it's very unfortunate that they didn't find it then, but they did like no tests on me. I mean, I even I'd never been in an ambulance. I was taken to the emergency room in an ambulance because I was having extremely severe, like I'd passed out multiple times because the pain was just so bad. And I have a very high pain tolerance. So it was pretty bad. And this was Thanksgiving evening. So the doctor that was there, this was in Michigan, told me that, pretty much like, well, our techs are, home. So we'd have to like call them in to get you like an ultrasound or something like that, pretty much making me feel bad. Like, we can't really do these tests for you. So I was in too much pain to really do much of anything about it. So I ended up not having any tests done then. And if they had, then they almost certainly would have found something. So that was Thanksgiving 22. Fast forward to February when the Disc Golf Pro Tour starts. So last year was my plan for the big tour season. I was going to play I was still going to stay amateur. I wasn't going to accept cash because I wanted to win Am Worlds, or at least try to. But I also wanted to get a lot of FPO experience. I wanted to get experience on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. So I ended up playing 4 events total. One of those events after I figured out that there was a decent chance I had cancer. So this is kind of progressively getting worse and worse, my health, like the pain. And I do a good job of kind of fooling myself, like, it's fine because, maybe one day or part of one day it wouldn't be that bad. And then the next day it would be like someone stabbing me the entire time. I mean, it was bad. And I came back so I had the Las Vegas Challenge. Then I had the Memorial in Arizona. Then I went to Florida for the amateur FA1 advanced weekend of Throw Down the Mountain. Won that. Went back flew back to Texas. Had the Open at Austin, and then I had Texas States, and then I drove back to Florida for the Pro weekend for Throw Down the Mountain. So I did 2 of the 4 weekends for Throw Down the Mountain. And it was at that weekend. So I played 3 disc golf pro tour events, and that would have been my third like A tier. And I started to get sick, like a pretty bad head cold on my drive from Texas to Florida, which is part of the reason why I went to urgent care. And it was my husband, Andy, also, it had a big role in that, because I was kind of like, well, I don't really know what they're going to do, because I just thought it was like I thought I had like ulcers or something from a pre-existing condition. So I never considered it being like a tumor or something much worse like it ended up being. And so he was really like encouraging me, like, hey, you know, maybe you should go and just try to see something. I was like, well, I don't have insurance. And this is, you know, I just felt like it was going to be so much money and a waste of time. It was not. So part of the reason why I went was because I'm just going to keep going type of person. I'm like, go, 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 go. So I'm like, okay, I want to go back to Throw Down the Mountain. I want to practice the courses. And I was going to do that, but I was kind of battling it because I had this head cold, right? So I was like, okay, well, I'm probably just going to wear myself out too much by going to this course. So I'll go to the urgent care. And luckily I went to like the most Gucci urgent care ever, because they had a CT scanner. And like, what urgent cares have a CT scanner?
No.
So the nurse practitioner there was like, you know, I don't want to just give you like steroids, because that's kind of the only thing that I would knew that would help the conditions and the issues that I'd had previously. Like I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis and like IBS and stuff like that. And so she was like, well, I really want you to have a CT scan, which is very expensive, and do blood work. So we ended up doing it and waited for about an hour. And finally she called us back, and you could tell she was like so shocked. And she said, yeah, you have this really large, like a couple cysts on the left side, but then you have this really large mass on the right side, and it's over half of it has solidified, which is the concerning part, because that's more indicative of something that's cancer. So she said, you know, it's not definite that it's cancer, but that certainly is something that it seems more like it could be cancer. So with like getting insurance and everything, fast forward a month and a half, then that's when surgery was scheduled for, and I started like heavy pain meds at that point, because I was just in so much pain, and it got really bad really quickly. Like I was in pretty debilitating pain for that whole time. It was just, the whole experience was it was a lot. It was a lot on my body. The surgery, everything was a lot. So thankfully I was able to get that done. I played one more disc golf pro tour event, actually my best event of all of them, even though I was in very severe pain.
Wow.
28th place. And I was very excited about that at North Cove, which is an amazing property. I really, really like that property. It's such a fun, it was boulders, and boulders is such a fun course to play. And then I had one more tournament. I think after that, it was, the Glass Blown Open in Kansas. Went to that. It was very rough. Like my body was not doing well at all. Then I have surgery, and that's when they find out I have endometriosis, and they removed all the tumor. They removed my right ovary. They removed part of my left ovary and the cyst there, and they tried to remove as much of the endometriosis as they could see. And that has the potential of like growing back and stuff. So we'll see what happens with that. Hopefully we can kind of get that under control so it doesn't grow back. But there's certainly things moving forward in the future that I'll have to be, you know, careful with that. And obviously getting cancer is something that, you know, at the very least, it sort of wakes you up to the fragility of life and like, okay, what's, you know, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or the next day. Like anything could happen. And, yeah, it was a very, very tough and trying time, but I saw God in some really, really cool ways throughout it. And some people in my life, like my now husband, Andy, just helping take care of me, and his love for me throughout that time was really, really awesome. And other friends and people that, like, my parents came down here and stayed for like a month. After my surgery, I didn't really end up getting to, I saw my mom a lot more, but I didn't get to, I was kind of out of it for a long time after surgery, and was bedridden for a lot of 23 because of the surgery. It just really took a lot out of me. But then I was extremely determined to still play Amateur Worlds, even though I probably shouldn't have. But it was only a month and a half after surgery, like major surgery. And the doctor was like, yeah, you probably shouldn't play disc golf until like at least like 2 months after surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided to go play one of the most difficult type of tournaments, like a 5-day tournament, a month and a half after surgery. But I knew it was going to be rough. And particularly that year was interesting with, I don't know if you know anything about Amateur Worlds, but they had all of this air quality stuff that happened this past year. And so we ended up only playing 4 rounds because they had to completely cancel rounds like 1.5 days because the air quality was just so bad from fires in Canada.
Yeah, I was gonna say, was that up there near the Canadian fires and everything this past year? Yeah.
Yep. So I did that, and honestly, for the condition that I was in and the fact that I hadn't played disc golf at all, and even before surgery, I couldn't play disc golf very well because I was just in so much pain. I got 19th place out of 100 competitors. So it really, it wasn't bad for the fact that I was in such a terrible condition, but I was determined to do it. And I was like, it's okay, whatever I get, I don't care. I needed to do that for myself, to play it. So it was definitely rough afterwards, but I think worth it. And I tried to play like some tournaments afterwards, and I did play one, I think like the next weekend. That one was pretty rough. And then I think I tried to play one the next weekend or shortly thereafter. And it was the only tournament I had to DNF because I couldn't do it. My body was like, nope, you are done. Mm-hmm. So it's the go big or go home mentality in me. I'm like, okay, just keep going. Like you can do it. Your body can handle it. And then I've gotten to the point to where I found out, nope, actually right now my body can't handle that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, gosh, so many things there. First off, insurance. Okay. And I mean, this is not the platform for this, but when people get diagnosed with something like cancer, possible cancer, and they have to wait a month to get things going. I mean, that's literally taking someone's life in their hands over $1 bill.
Yeah.
And I have a friend of mine, her husband recently passed away for just that very reason. And it's just, when I hear your story, it just punches me in the gut hearing it.
Yeah.
And
it was crazy. And the hospital that I have everything done at was terrible. Like I had the most traumatic experience of like my entire life with the recovery nurse at the hospital. It was so terrible. I'm not going back to that hospital if I'm going to get surgery like that again, but it was pretty bad. Like it was, they could not get my pain under control, but it was worse than that. It was almost like being tortured. It was bad. Mm-hmm. So that just the whole experience, it's like, and everything you do in the medical industry, you have to fight for it. Like they were supposed to call me for CT scans to get like follow-ups and everything, because, one of the things I'm doing right now is I get blood work every 3 months, and I get imaging every 6 months. Mm-hmm. Well, the imaging ended up being like 9 months because you called one person, they're like, no, you need to call this person, you need to call this person. So you'd end up like, it was exhausting. And you're talking about a person that is sick, that doesn't have energy, that doesn't have motivation. You've just been through hell on earth, and then you have to sit here and make call after call after call after call. I'm so thankful that Andy was there to like help out some, but I mean, he had a lot of other things to do as well. So it's a very sad system in a lot of ways, because it's even if you're really trying to be proactive and help yourself, the system just makes it so difficult to be able to do that.
I mean, we talked about this before. I've had 48 operations, 2 kidney transplants, and tons of other stuff. So for me, I've been in the system my whole life. It's easy, except for like the last 2 years. I've had so much red tape. It's gotten so much worse the last 2 years. So I know exactly what you're saying. And it's sad that, healthy people are the ones that suffer the most, because when they actually need help, they can't get it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I had, for the most part, like I had a lot of health issues previously, but I did not like going to the doctor. So I would
Mm-hmm.
try as, like, there would be times in my life where I was like, okay, I really should try to figure this out. So I'm going to force myself to go to the doctor, even though I really don't want to try
Mm-hmm.
to figure it out. So I have, you know, a decent understanding. And then I do as much research as I can on my own too, because nobody knows your body like you know it. You know,
Yep.
there's
Exactly.
you can see a doctor for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour. You know your body better than they do because you live with yourself all the time. So, you know, don't discredit that.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, yeah, with the whole CT scan thing, I mean, I would call the doctor that prescribed it, right? Or whatever you want to call it. And he said, yeah, the order's been put through and it should be on the other end. I would call the people on the other end. They're like, we don't have it. And we're not allowed to have people call us to tell that the order's there. It has to come through electronically. And then they're like, well, it's been through electronically. So it's just this back and forth of, it's like, who do you call? Because you call the one person, they're like, no, it's done. You call the other person, it's like, we don't have anything. So it's interesting. But yeah, my advice to people would be don't get sick.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. That is absolutely true. All right. Now,
But
now we went through the dip.
Yeah.
Let's start going back up again.
Yes. I wanted, this actually is along the lines of going up again. I grew so much from all of this. Like all of the trials, all of the things that I've been through in my life have helped prepare me for other things or help me grow or learn something very important and valuable. So even though maybe that wasn't good in itself, I became a better person because of it. And I was also able to see love and care from other people, like my support system. And you just can't really get that any other way. And so I'm thankful for it. Like it's not a negative thing in my life. It's kind of like, yeah, that's sort of crazy, you know, but it's not, I don't look at it as like, wow, like why in the world would I go through this? You know, I'm not like a victim, like, woe is me, I had to go through this. I'm more of like, hey, that's just what happened and it's okay. And I've learned and I've grown so much from it. So I think it's a positive and a happy ending, you know?
Yeah.
Or happy beginning. Who knows?
That's right. That's right. Because I want to go straight to that actual thing, the happy beginning. Last month, a little thing happened to you. A little thing on your finger there.
Bling bling.
So it's actually one of the reasons why it took us a little longer. You got married.
Yes.
Congratulations on that. First off, that is so awesome.
Yes, very exciting. It finally happened. Found the right guy. It was amazing. I'm not just saying this to say it. It really was the most beautiful, the most magical day of my entire life. I was a princess. I felt like a princess, also a queen, you know, just both, all of them. And it was so cool to see all of the people that came and on a short notice too. Like a lot of people didn't have a lot of time to plan. And I don't know, it was just so special to see how much people cared for us. And we had a lot of people have like short speeches during the reception, and like just hearing what they had to say about us was so meaningful. And then the whole wedding was just, beforehand and during and even afterwards, was a time to just reflect on all of the amazing relationships that have been in my life, and just feeling so thankful and grateful for all of those people that care and love me and I love them. And yeah, it was really special. And then to be able to get married to this amazing person, it was very special. It was definitely stressful leading up to it, because there was as everyone that has gotten married knows, there's a lot of things to figure out last minute. But yeah, it was all worth it. I'm glad we put the work in. It definitely made my disc golf off season non-existent, because I didn't play for like a month straight. And then even before that, it wasn't a whole lot of playing disc golf. So I came into the season very rusty. But it was amazing. And yeah, Very, very excited, very happy.
And you literally did look like a princess. I sent you a message telling you that. I was like, wow, you look like an absolute princess. And I told you beforehand, I was like, everything's not going to go great. Just enjoy the ride. There will be some bumps on going up, that week leading up to the wedding and everything, but don't stress it too much.
Yeah.
But you can't help it, can you? You can't.
I'm very much a detail-oriented person, very detailed. So I did whatever I could to plan for it. I had my brother, he's an officer in the Navy, my oldest brother, he's an officer in the Navy, and he was kind of like my fix-it wedding coordinator guy. And so I was like, okay, I've come up with all this stuff. I had like sheets of paper, like gave to now you're in charge, you take care of it the day of the wedding. And I decided early on, I was like, I'm going to put as much work as possible as I can leading up to the day of. And then the day of, I'm going to do my best to let it all go. Whatever happens, happens. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to soak it in. And I think I did a really good job of like just soaking it in and allowing myself to really enjoy it. Even there were a few hiccups, but I think that's just very normal for weddings. And overall, it was such a beautiful day. Even with the hiccups, it doesn't matter. It was amazing and very special. It was magical. It was magical.
I mean, the biggest hiccup was somehow I didn't get an invitation. What the heck?
Well, maybe you should have gotten to know me sooner in the movie.
Well, yeah, that's on me. One of the things that you post a lot is you and your husband's love for board games. Like, which ones in particular? Because you've posted some, I'm like, I have never heard of that.
Yes, and we've learned a good number. So I was the board game nerd. I know that's hard to believe, but I am a nerd. I'm a chemical engineer, and I love math. I love graphs. I love tables. I love all of it. I'm such a nerd. And I love board games. I even wore glasses at one point.
You see her behind me, so you know I love comics, so I understand.
So Carcassonne is definitely my favorite board game. It's also currently Andy's board game. I have definitely introduced him to a lot of board games, and he's really gotten into it and enjoys it. And for a while there, we were playing board games like every single night, and then things got a little bit busier. So we still play a lot, but not quite as much lately, just because of the craziness of the beginning of the season and traveling and disc golf and all the other life things that there are. But yeah, Carcassonne is our favorite. In fact, so this is kind of a funny side story. Andy's brother was also his best man at the wedding, Josh, is also a board game nerd, and he introduced me to like this app, Board Game Geeks.com, something like that, and you can like track you can keep all your stats, which is like the perfect for me because I'm like, ooh, stats, like, so I can keep track of like all the wins, and they have like all the board games and card games on there possible, so anytime we play I like keep track. But anyway, so he introduced that to me, like middle of last year, maybe. Been using that the whole time. And then as I think like a wedding gift, he bought us, so Carcassonne and a lot of other board games have what's called meeples. So they're like that, those are like your pieces that you use and like put on the board. So you have different types of pieces for Carcassonne. And of course on Etsy people make everything, and so they 3D printed somebody on Etsy with 3D print, I guess probably whatever colors you wanted, pieces for Carcassonne. And we had no idea this was happening and coming in the mail, so we received these pieces, and he did purple for me, I guess because he thought it is one of my favorite colors, but he thought, okay, well, she really loves purple because I had purple in my wedding. And then Andy is a huge Tennessee Vols fan, and that's where he went to college. And he's also an engineer, by the way. So we're both engineers. He's civil engineering. And so he loves orange. And so the colors were purple and orange, which is actually funny because both of my parents went to Clemson University, and my dad is like a huge Clemson fan and has been his entire life. And I grew up going to Clemson football games and stuff and like cheering for Clemson. I'm not necessarily the best fan or anything. But it was so funny that we got those pieces and I was like, ooh, look, we're Clemson fans because our pieces were orange and purple for our favorite game, Carcassonne. So that's pretty funny. But yeah, we like a lot of other games. There's Dominion was one that I really liked. Andy and I have only played that one once. So it's a deck building game. He's only played it once. He wasn't super into it, but I think maybe he just needs to play it a couple more times because it's really one that like a lot of really good games, you kind of have to play it at least once before you enjoy it to kind of figure out the strategy. But yeah, I like that. We really like Splendor. We just got Splendor Duel. That one's fun. It's very easy, like fun game. Azul. There's like a lot of Azuls. There's Azul 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I really like Azul 1, 3, and 4. They're all really good. We got this game Village, that the base game. We usually try, if they're like expansions, we try to get like some expansions. We tried the base game and it wasn't as fun. We tried some expansions and it was much more fun. So yeah, lots of board games. We have a lot of just random things that we like to do. We play board games. We love listening to books. So we're in this series that I introduced him to. It's the Cradle series by Will White. It is so good. And we both are, this is the funniest thing. So when we met, we were actually both on the same exact book in the same series. It was like book 8 out of 10 or something of the Lightbringer series by Brent Weeks. And these are both like fantasy and super good. So we were like on the same book in the same yeah, series, like book series.
That's awesome. It's meant to be.
Yeah. And I think our favorite book, both of our favorite books, is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss or something. I always say his name wrong, but that's like such a good book. So we both love reading. So we'll listen to audiobooks a lot when we're traveling. We like games. We both go on like walks together, which we're just like about a couple old people, you know?
Hey, it's an old soul. There's nothing wrong with being an old soul.
Yeah.
Wow. That is awesome. Okay. Now let's go back to the Frisbee throwing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we talked about Neptune discs. Do you have anything to say? Like weights of discs? Do you ever go down to lower weights, or you stay upper weights? Or where are you on your weights on your discs?
So when I first started, I only threw like max weight. What I call max weight is 175.
Right.
And I think that was actually really good for me. I almost kind of I don't know. I feel like I have so many varying weights of discs that would be hard to like try to go back to that. But I think that doing that kind of took out a lot of extra variability. But it also is difficult because if you have like the more of the power of what females typically have, then, you know, having a lighter weight disc can really help and make a difference in certain throws, flick or, you know, backhand. So I see the value in that. But yeah, I have all different kinds of weights of discs. I started out for my first year and a half, probably, I only used max weight. And that just creates less variability, right? Because if you form a particular way and you have the same weight of disc, then that's one thing, that's one extra variable that's not changing. In your throwing. So I think that there can be uses in that. But yeah, I have a lot of different weight discs, and I find that, you know, sometimes it'll make it more flippy, and so that's can be kind of nice. But it's exciting because you have all of these different types of discs, and that's one reason why with Neptune it's cool being sponsored by them and still being able to have an open bag because, you know, they don't have a full lineup, so they just have their 3 or 4 discs, and then I can still try out all of my discs. But on that note, for this year, I actually am planning on trying to dial it in on much fewer discs in my bag, because I've been very bad at having like 30 to 35 discs in my bag at one time. And people pick up my bag, they're like, this is so heavy. How do you carry that? And they're like, you're so tiny. It's like, well, I'm really strong. So it was just fun for me. You know, it was fun for me to try all the different manufacturers and all the different discs and being able to do that. And I think now is like getting into the pro side of things and wanting to improve and move up. I do think that narrowing in on more particular disc and kind of having like, say, I love the Wave. The Wave is one of my favorite discs, especially for flicking. I'll backhand it as well. It's actually a great backhand disc, but I love it for my main flick or forehand disc. And I'm starting to bag like 3 or 4 of those. You know, I may bag more of those. So I'll have like a Wave and I'll have multiple discs of the same disc that are varying, you know, stabilities.
Because I know with me, I did the exact opposite. I started trying to find lighter weights, and all I could find was Innova. That's at the time, it's all I could find with the light weights. Because for me, it's like heavy weights, they just went and just crashed. I mean, it's like it doesn't matter what disc I throw; it's just going to do the same thing. So now I've gone up in weights now, and I'm actually starting to do better by doing that.
Yeah. When did you start? When did you kind of change? So quick question for you, like how long have you been playing disc golf now?
2 answers to that. I first started back in 2000, somewhere between 6 and 8, 2006, 2008, somewhere in there. I played like 10 rounds at Peaks View Park here. As far as I know, that might be the only course at that time here. I'm not sure. But there's one hole, it's hole 10. It's kind of slants down. Disc gets up on the side, it's rolling down into a pond. I always tell people I think I played about 10 rounds and I lost 7 discs in that pond. and when I got it to the tee pad,
the disc golf manufacturers.
You
were really helping out the disc golf manufacturers.
Yes, I was helping out only Innova. That's really at that time it's all I could find at Playing Against Sports. So I told one of my friends when I got to the tee pad, I was like, if it goes down in that water, I'm done. And it got up, rolled down the water, and I didn't play again until 2021.
So what year was that happened that you said I'm not playing anymore?
Yeah, that was probably like 2007, 2008, something like that.
So it was a long time before.
Yeah. I mean, at that time I was healthy. I was doing mixed martial arts. You know, you talked about teaching. I taught mixed martial arts for years. And then I played golf for a long time. So to me, it was kind of a side thing. So, right. And then after my hip replacement, and then this little pandemic thing happened. So during that time, one of my friends I just happened to be on YouTube one day and seeing a Paul Macbeth video. And I was like, man, I haven't played that in a long time.
Yeah.
And it just so happened a couple weeks later, one of my friends was like, hey, you want to go try playing? It was after my hip replacement, so I was terrified to try to throw a backhand on that hip.
Yeah, I bet.
So I was throwing like 50 feet. But it got that passion. And since then, I've been hooked.
That's awesome.
So that's my disc golf story. I mean, like to this day, like my backhands, when my shoulder's feeling good, I'm only throwing like 175 to 200. So I might need a coach maybe in August.
Yeah, you may. We'll have to see what
now, my forehand, I can throw anywhere from 240 to 275. So there's that.
Like mixed martial arts, I did like Taekwondo, Iaido, Judo, all of those things from like 9 until 16 or 17, right when I started college. So I was homeschooled the whole way through. I graduated when I was 15, and then I started college 17 days after I turned 17. So then at that point, I gave up karate and all of that. I didn't do that much anymore. But yeah, I did karate for a while as well. It was pretty fun.
Nice. See, I never learned karate or taekwondo. We did Muay Thai kickboxing, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And then we kind of had like a mix. We did some Wing Chun in there, some like Greco-Roman wrestling, some
never even heard of that.
Like straight box. Well, Greco-Roman is basically showing us how to get some of the takedowns to get to the Brazilian jiu-jitsu side of things.
Okay.
So, we're doing a lot of that stuff. So, and then I start, when I was a brown belt, I started working with the kids, and which is an absolute blast and an absolute nightmare.
I actually, as a kid, was teaching the kids. Like they would have a kids class and like an adult class. And
Mm-hmm.
once you got up to a certain point, you would help out with the kids class, and then you would do like train during the adult class or whatever. And so
Mm-hmm.
I remember doing that. I never got to black belt. I was very close, but it was one of those things where our sensei was like, he was really high up. He could have definitely given us like the black stripe and black belt tests,
Mm-hmm.
but trying to coordinate with a dojo that was like an hour and a half, 2 hours away. And then it's like, okay, you guys are going to go there to take your black belt and black stripe and black belt test. And I was like, I just didn't ever end up doing it. So I got up to brown belt and I was happy with it. I could beat up on a lot of the black belts even at that point. So I was fine.
I mean, I love the training. I love the camaraderie. My biggest issue was at the time I was weighing like 145.
Yeah.
So during grappling, doing jujitsu and stuff, there were some guys from the local college. One was a wrestler, and he weighed like 245.
Yeah, so you don't have the weight. That's really hard with like the weight.
Well, it's not. It wasn't even that. He was afraid to ever go on his back because in wrestling, if you get on your back, match is over.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I would just keep going around to his back and putting a choke on him, and he would tap out. And then he got mad one time and just slammed me. I'm like, really, dude?
Yeah.
Really? It was all I could do not to just grab an arm and just go to town on it. But I didn't. But I didn't.
I also have a funny story about karate with my sister. So she did get to black belt, and one time we were sparring, and we would always, go a lot harder on each other. And I forget whether she punched me or kicked me in the nose. You're technically not supposed to do that, but it was an accident. And my nose starts like bleeding. And I just run real quick to the bathroom. I like wipe it up, and then I go right back out and I start fighting with her again. I was like, let's go.
Okay. So did you do like the point sparring?
Yes.
See, that's one thing we didn't do because we were going more for like UFC style.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my friends, he came from the American freestyle, so they had point sparring, and we would go at it. He would touch me, he would stop. That was my free time.
Yeah, no, I went to many tournaments, played, and so there were generally like 3 different categories. I think there was the form category, so like your kata, and then there were the weapons katas. So like I had a bow staff or like size kata, stuff like that. And then there was the sparring. So we would do each one of those, and you would get different points. Like say if you kick lightly to the like back of the head, you couldn't hit like the face. That would be like 3 points. I think that was like the points. And if you punched, I think, to the solar plexus or the stomach, then that was 1 or 2 points or something like that. So yeah, she would just spar like that, and that's how in tournaments they'd be like, you get this number of points. I don't know what they said anymore. I can't even remember a lot of the words. I do know 1 to 10 in Japanese and Korean because of it though.
Oh wow.
Very random.
I took German in high school, so there you go. I don't remember it. It's been so long ago, but yeah.
I've never taken a foreign language ever. I would love to learn a language. It seems like a lot of memorization. One day maybe.
Well, I mean, for me, it's like looking back, it's like German really does nothing for anyone in America now. We needed Spanish back then. If we had learned Spanish, I could have done a lot. Now it's like, oh well.
Anyway, so from disc golf to karate, back.
There you go. Hey, the world just keeps on revolving. Let's see. Will this actually be your rookie season? Or no? I don't even know how to qualify when someone's a rookie.
It's fine. So yes and no. Like there's a good chance I may not accept cash at all this year, or maybe it won't be until like a certain point in the year. I'm going to reevaluate things as I go along. So I'm not going to accept cash at least until after Amateur Worlds, because this year is going to kind of be like what I was expecting last year to be like before all of like the health issues and cancer and all of that happened. So I will play Amateur Worlds and then see what happens after that, and I'll probably start accepting cash after that, but I'm not positive. But I'll still be playing most tournaments as FPO. Like I'm doing US Women's in FA1, since it's such like a huge tournament, and I'm still only like 872 rated or something, so I'm still, you know, a very reasonable range to be playing in advance for like a major, especially. And then Amateur Worlds, of course, that'll be, I believe that's also FA1 for Amateur Worlds. And there may be another tournament or two there that here or there that I'll play. If it's like really huge, that I may play FA1 depending on the field. But for the most part, I'll play all FPO, and I'm gonna play. I mean, I'm signed. I as soon as I was able to, as soon as it was February 9th for my rating range that I was able to sign on, and I had all of the links up. I had all of the PayPal information figured out, and I went from one to the next and signed up as soon as that clock turned, like, I don't know, 8 or 9, whatever the time was. I was on there signing up for every single one, and I got on the wait. I was immediately put to the wait list on every single one, including the chess.com invitational, which I was number 1 on the wait list. So of course I got into that one. And then now for Waco, last I checked, I think I was number 2 on the wait list. So we'll see about that. So that's like part of the thing where it kind of, you know, stinks that I didn't end up getting the tour card from NADGT. I was, you know, that would be very nice to know how to like plan my schedule. But here I am where I'm like, well, I'm not sure if I'm going to get into this tournament or not, but it's all the way in Texas and I'm in Florida.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an interesting year in terms of trying to plan things, because I'm wanting to play most of the Disc Golf Pro Tour events. There are a couple that I'm like, I won't play these couple events, but like I'm signed up for everyone in this current wave, which is, of course, what's the chess.com invitational first. Next is the Open at Austin in Texas, or sorry, Waco in Texas, the Waco Charity Open. Then the Open at Austin, which is of course Austin. Then US Women's, then, but that's not Disc Golf Pro Tour. Then Texas States in Houston, and then the Jonesboro Open in Arkansas, and then the Music City Open in Nashville. So it's 6 that are in this wave, and then they'll have another wave you can sign up for later, and then I'll sign up for a bunch of tournaments then. So yeah, so I can't guarantee a spot in any of these. So most of them I'll be on the wait list. And I tried to like send an email to figure out about getting like an exemption or something, but haven't really heard anything back from that. So yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see how things go, because like financially, I'm not sure how it's all gonna work out. I do have multiple fundraiser things that are very much in the works right now. I'm super excited about it. So one of the things that I'll talk about my fundraiser discs that are coming out, and I'll actually be getting them fairly soon. They're already made. They're ready to be shipped. They'll probably be shipped out tomorrow. Very excited. And who knows whether it'll be shipped here or Texas. We'll see. But that was one of the things in 23 that I was really working on. Like I had been working on a design. So I have a minor in graphic design. So I'm very artistic. I love like creating that. And I really wanted my first fundraiser disc to be something that I designed entirely. And so I've been working on that. I even had a few discs printed from the Dymax for like dynamic and stuff. So I had that one, this one, and I had a couple minis and another disc that one of my followers actually purchased from me way back when. So these are all like one of a kind. This design has been changed slightly for the updated for this year. So I have a version of what's closest to like this design that's coming out that was the design for 2023 that I did myself. And that will be coming. Half of the disc will be this design, and then the other half of the discs will be the design that Judge Havoc did, which if anybody's following along with me, you've seen the design. It's very, very talented. Shout out to Judge Havoc for reaching out to me and making that design. I'm super excited about them. So those are coming out, and I should have them very soon. So you can order them, I can ship them, or if you see me in person, you can obviously buy them from me in person. I'm also at the final stages, like finalizing my design with disc golf pins to get a pin out. So you'll be able to buy pins from them. I also am working with Philip Shane, I believe is his name, and he does a lot of like pottery, clay, firing stuff. I'm not sure exactly how to say it, but he is creating clay glazed minis for me with my design on it as well. So that's happening.
Nice.
And then here in, a month or two, couple months, I will also be working with Neptune Discs and getting my stamp, like a foil stamp. So these will all be like full color from Dymax. And then I'll also have a foil stamp with Neptune Discs as well coming in the future. So that those will, if you want to help support my 2024 season, then please buy lots of discs and pins and stuff like that.
Will you have a link for that?
Yes.
Or just through your Instagram?
Yeah, so through my Instagram, I'll definitely have it there. On my Instagram currently, I have a link tree, and it has a lot of. I kind of need to update it actually, but it has a lot of information. And as soon as I get more things for like these discs, I'll have something about that on there, hopefully. And I'll definitely make multiple posts about it to make sure everyone knows that they can buy a disc if they want to support me.
Well, just message me so that way I can definitely be sure to get one. Okay. I definitely want to get that in and sling it a little.
Yes.
Just unfortunately, I sling them into trees a lot.
I do a lot more lately. There's a lot that happens when you go through the physical things that I've been through. I have to say, it's been frustrating to get back to disc golf.
Mm-hmm.
I have like a lot of moments where I have struggled more than I've ever struggled before with myself, just because I see the difference. Like, I mean, we're talking, I threw 360 feet at the distance competition at Amateur Worlds in 22.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 23, I was very surprised. I actually got to like 330 almost. But now, like normally on a course, I struggle to even get to 300 feet. And I was getting in flat ground where I could almost get up to 400 feet before I was. So going from that to now barely being able to reach 300, it's definitely been a struggle, which is part of the reason why there's multiple reasons why I'm trying to rework my backhand. My backhand kind of is not the best right now, but I'm working it out. But that's sometimes what happens. Like you get injuries or things happen,
Mm-hmm.
messes up your form, and you kind of have to, like, I'm all about going back to the basics in anything, like any sport. If you're really trying to get better, going back to the basics is often what will allow you to get better and really make that next step. A lot of people are like, no, I gotta practice like these very complicated form new techniques. And I'm like, no, actually just dialing it back and practicing very, very basic techniques. That's what's going to help you the most. Trying to take away everything else and isolate as much as you can and figuring out what works for you. That's really what's going to help you get back there. So I'm already seeing improvements. I would love to see more, but I am here for it. I'm being patient, waiting, and giving my body whatever time it needs to, and it'll get back there when it gets back there.
Well, I mean, back to martial arts for one quick second. That is one thing I used to always tell people. I was like, look, you got to build the foundation. Without that foundation, things are going to crumble when there's pressure put on it. So you keep that foundation strong, keep going back to the basics, the fundamentals, and the whole thing will build stronger as you go along. Question. See, Todd Panning, he says, what speeds will your designs appear in?
So it's going to be in the Trespass, the Diamond.
Diamond, that's one of my favorites, actually.
Yeah, it's an awesome disc.
Mm-hmm.
The Pure. So the Trespass and the Diamond, you'll see a little more of this on the edge because they're more dreamy. So the stamp, the full color stamp, doesn't do as well. But I saw the design, like he did a couple test runs on both the Trespass and the Diamond, and it really wasn't bad at all. Like it did a good job of going over the whole disc. But so the Trespass Diamond, there's the Pure. I love that disc. This one actually is the Pure. It's such a great disc. The Tersus, I think.
Mm-hmm. I've never thrown that. I've heard of it. I've never thrown one.
And there's another one. There's at least like 5. I could actually tell you. In fact, it's like right here. Yeah, I could tell you. So it's the Pure, the Diamond, the Tursus, the Fuse, and the Trespass.
Nice.
Those 5 discs I'm getting in both designs. So yeah, I tried to do a range of like, I had a distance driver, fairway driver, mid-ranges, putters.
Nice.
So just about every option you could think of for discs, it's there in my designs if you want it.
Let's see. All right, now we're going into the meat of the disc golf. When you find out your time, do you have a pre-routine for your round?
Yes. So I used to not for a very long time. So back in 22, I was pretty much touring the country as an amateur. I even played in Canada. I played the Canadian Nationals in Prince Edward Island. So gorgeous. If you ever get the chance to go there and play disc golf, highly recommend. And yeah, I was just going all over the place, and I played almost every course blind. Which I actually enjoyed. I had a lot of fun playing courses blind. I did not mind it at all. I played like course after course after course blind.
Mm-hmm.
It was just too much travel. There was too much like traveling in between and to really have time to be able to do it. I mean, I was playing like every weekend. So that was very fun. So I did not have much of a routine then, but now I'm getting much better, in which I try to get there at least a minimum of an hour before, preferably even longer.
Mm-hmm.
I usually start out by putting first, because I feel like that's a little easier and I can kind of get my body moving and warmed up a little bit better. Then, and this is more new to this year, I'm trying to incorporate more stretching and like dynamic movements into my pre-round warm-up workout. Oftentimes, even I did this like the last couple years, I would often like do a little jog, like go on a jog for like a quarter of a mile, something like that. You know, that kind of gets the blood flowing, the body moving. Then I'm not as big into like throwing practice drives. Like sometimes I will, sometimes I won't. I think it can be valuable, but there's not always the best locations to. So that's one of those things where I'm sort of like going back and forth on, well, if I don't have an area to be able to even do that, then should I always keep that into my routine? I think it's, yeah, like, I mean, I definitely did that in my warm up for chess.com, but the only problem is if you're at one of the earlier tee times, which I was every day, then it was like dark until very close to our tee time. So it was hard to actually get a lot of that warm up and practice in because it's just so dark. And it's cold sometimes. I mean, it was really chilly, like the 40s early in the morning. So it's hard to get like your body, which makes it even more important to have a warm up so you get your body like moving and everything. But for that course, Olympus, by round 3, which was day 6, like the 6th time I played that course, my body was done for. I tried using the massage gun to loosen up my muscles before the final round 3 on Sunday. I tried stretching, I tried moving, like all of these things, and my body was like this big knot, and it was kind of a miserable last round. I'm not gonna lie, my body did not feel good, and then I really injured myself on the very last hole. I don't even know what I did exactly. I was just walking, and I had this really bad shooting pain up the side of my heel, kind of from my heel up my ankle, and I like couldn't hardly even walk. I barely finished the last hole on that course, but I don't think it was because I actually had an injury there. I think it was because the rest of my body was just so tight and not prepared for that. I mean, we're talking like we've been off the whole season. I got married. I haven't been playing a lot yet. And then we go and play like arguably the most difficult course on the entire pro tour for our first disc golf pro tour event. And my body was like, what are you doing? It was like, just no, let's not do this, you know? And obviously I wanted to get a few practice rounds in. So I got 3 practice rounds in, and one of my practice rounds was Thursday. So I practiced round Thursday, round Friday, round Saturday, round Sunday. So by Sunday it was rough. I did my best. I think I did well considering, but it was a very tough round for me, and especially then not playing extremely well. But it is what it is. There's good rounds, there are bad rounds. You know, they happen. It's best to learn whatever you can from those rounds and keep perspective and try to stay as positive as possible, you know, and realize that disc golf's all about the ups and the downs and being able to handle those. You know, if you can be happy about the highs and can accept those, then it's also just as important to accept the lows and be okay with those.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I told one of my friends is like when he has a good shot, I mean, he's like king ding-a-ling. But when he has a bad shot, he loses his mind. And I'm like, dude, that's just going to keep carrying over. And next thing you have another bad shot, it gets worse. And it's the mind is such a huge part of the game.
Yeah. And I understand the struggle with that. Like I have been there. I have had rounds, multiple rounds. I mean, especially after everything that happened with surgery, you can talk to Andy and he'll tell you, like, I had some rounds where I was getting really upset. I'm like really upset with myself. And I literally just stopped. I stopped playing because I told myself, I was like, you know what? If I'm going to get this upset about something that I love and I want to do, then it's just not worth it. I need to just take a break and say, hey, we need like a little time off. And even if it's just for the rest of the day or the next day or something, just give yourself a little breather, a little break. And I told myself, I kind of had this mentality very early on, and I was sort of encouraged by some other disc golfers that helped me out with it. So I'm very thankful for them. Like early on was just the idea of like keeping a very positive attitude about playing disc golf, you know, especially if you want to go into it professionally and you want to play it all the time, like what I'm doing and what I'm planning on doing. Like how miserable would it be if I start just hating disc golf and not enjoying it, or I'm upset every single time I throw a bad shot? It's going to be pretty miserable. So just really trying to like evaluate where I'm at and how I'm doing. And if I'm not handling a round very well or a shot very well, then, you know, kind of taking a step back. And then if I'm in a tournament round and I'm not going to quit or anything, then it's really each hole just being like, okay, it's okay. That hole's behind. You can't do anything about it. Just do your best to finish this round strong and to keep fighting. Like I'm always like, okay, keep going, keep fighting, keep working hard. Don't give up just because you had a bad hole or a bad couple holes, even if I feel like, oh man, well, that just like ruined my round, you know, because it's easy to feel that way. You have like one really bad hole and you're like, well, that's my round. It's going to be rated terribly now. So like it'd be so easy to say, well, I don't care now. It doesn't matter. I did so poorly. Who cares? Like my rating's going to be bad. So I'm just going to not care and play like more like garbage.
One of my biggest things is when I have a bad hole, if I have time, I try to take a step back, like let me slow down, because I feel like I will start speeding up, and now I'm rushing things. It's like there are times I've played bad, and I feel like I'm holding up my card, and sometimes the card behind us are starting to catch up. It's not all my fault, but and now I'm like, now I got to go faster, and now it just snowballs from there for me.
Yeah, it's really important to like kind of recognize it as when it comes, and then do whatever you can to stop that or to make it better. I mean, it's difficult when you're in the situation, you know, and people say, okay, well, it's so much easier said than done, and
Exactly.
it really is. But that's why you do some of the mental work beforehand. You prepare yourself. You decide for yourself what's important, what matters. Like, does disc golf matter so much that you're willing to like make everything not fun at all for everyone else? Get really upset and mad for yourself. I mean, that's bad for yourself too. Like that's not healthy. You're not going to feel very good about it. You're going to be upset. Like nobody likes that. Nobody enjoys that. So it's more about like, hey, what am I going for here? What matters? What do I want for myself, and what do I want for other people that I'm playing with and other people around me? And and having a really clear, solid picture for what that looks like is very valuable and important going into rounds. And I think that's the only reason I've been able to finish strong or even turn rounds around that were not good. Like that's how I won NADGT. I kind of started out a really rough rounds or really bad round at one point, and I was like, I'm not giving up. I'm every hole is a new hole. I'm going to do my best. And then I had like a fire round. It ended up being 5 strokes in the lead going into the final round. Now I gave up a lot of that lead, like a few of the few strokes of that lead in the last round, but still, that was a lot of the reason. I mean, that was a big reason why I won, was because I had worked hard for a long time on my mental game and my attitude about it. And I wasn't going to allow the bad holes to ruin all of my rounds or to ruin a later round or something like that.
Yeah. All right. Now you are 5 strokes ahead going into the last round. Do you play different? Do you play to par instead of saying, I can birdie this, but I might mess up? Do you say, you know what, I'm going to hold back? Or do you just say, you know what, I got to keep playing how I've been playing?
So it's different. I'll tell you exactly what my mentality, what my game plan was for that final round. And it almost ended up getting me in trouble because I started slowly, like they were whittling away at my lead as the rounds or as the round progressed. But my mentality was just par, like play for par, like don't try to go crazy, just play clean, play safe and everything. And yeah, I mean, there was a little bit of nerves, the fact that we were on the Disc Golf Network live and everything. Like that's a pretty big deal, right? We all know that. But it really wasn't that. I mean, relatively speaking, I was very chill, very calm. You know, it's like a big moment, and there was especially a lot of nerves going into it. But I was just like, no, I just want to play safe. Like I have a really good lead. On top of that, it was actually very difficult to get birdies at Roy G. Like a lot of the pars felt like were birdies for us essentially, because they were just so long and such difficult holes. I birdied 2 holes, I believe, at Roy G both rounds. It's so weird. Did you see that?
Yes, I saw balloons.
I've seen it happen before with like Apple. I have no idea why.
I've seen a couple of thumbs come up. I just saw balloons.
Maybe it thought I did like a thumbs up.
Balloons.
If I can get it to do something. Maybe it thought I said it was like party time.
Yes.
Anyway, I believe I had only birdied 2 holes over the 2. See, that's
okay. Apparently, when you get birdies, you get balloons.
Yeah. So those holes, and it was so the very start of the tournament, round 1 was at Roy G. I birdied the very first hole, and it was pretty much like I played it so beautifully. And then I did not birdie a single hole the rest of the round. It's so funny because there were some other holes that were much more birdieable. So that happened. And then my next birdie, which was the final round on hole 16, was pretty much the birdie that like secured my lead, secured my win. After that, I was probably more nervous for hole 17 and 18, but I was only 1 stroke. I only had the lead by 1 stroke at that point. Going into hole 16. Hole 16, I put it, 40, 45 feet from the basket. I made that putt. When I made that putt, I was like, yep, we got it. But it was nerve-wracking. So yeah, I would say it really depends. To kind of answer the question and go back, my game plan is very dependent on like where I'm at, So in that case, I had a very big lead. So my thought was, okay, I don't need to try to go crazy. I just need to maintain this lead. And that was the goal. So I wasn't going for anything. I wasn't trying really hard, but then I started making some mistakes and it cost me a little bit. And so I was getting to a point where I was like, okay, I really need to focus a lot more and finish this thing out and keep, maintain my lead, but they were making it very difficult. So that was what I felt then. My I think, I don't know if this is the only reason, but I think because I've just played so many tournaments, even as an am, I just don't get very nervous. I feel like I'm almost too calm. I need more of like a nervousness to kind of get the adrenaline going and get myself pumped and like ready to go for the next hole. So sometimes I feel like I'm not nervous enough and I need more of that nervousness. So when you go into like moving day or whatever, I'm like, okay, yeah, let's like move, let's go. Whereas I'm more of like, oh no, I'm just gonna do my game plan, like the same thing I'm planning to. And I think there's value in both of those.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good to just have a game plan and go with the game plan. But that was what my thought was going into NADGT, and kind of how I change it up depending on where I'm at or what course. It's also course dependent.
Yeah.
If the course is a course in which if you get off the fairway, then you're getting strokes, then I'm much more likely to try to play safe,
New London Tech.
Yeah. Although New London Tech has I feel like fairways. They're very wide.
Well, I mean, if you get off the right side on basically the first 10 holes is OB.
Yeah.
And if you're on the left side, you're basically in jail. So if you're in that fairway, you're okay.
But they're wider fairways. So I've never actually played the short layouts. I was there, and we drove down there multiple weekends and would play like New London, and then we would go and play like Falling Creek or go play another course. So it was insane that we played like New London, which is over 10,000 feet. It's a massive, massive course.
It is huge.
Course right afterwards, and then go the next day and go play another course. But yeah, New London Tech, I've only played the MPO layout that they have, like the longs. And I was very excited when I got like a 20 over. I was like, yeah, this is so good. This is so good.
Let me check here, because I know what I think my best on the long is. It's embarrassing, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I think mine may have actually been 21 over, just to clarify. But it was like close enough to 20 where I was like, yeah, it's like 20 over.
Let's see. It's a par 68. $58 over.
It's a tough one.
It's again, noodle arm throwing like 175. It is what it is. But now that I'm throwing my forehands a lot more, I'm fairly confident I could get down to in the 40s at worst now, I think. So
you have to try
steps.
it out soon. It's a beast of a course. I mean, Paul Macbeth knows how to make his courses very, very difficult. I mean, this past weekend was a prime example of that. There were a lot of people that, I really liked the course overall. I think it's very fun. I think it was too much on my body for this time, but that's just like where I'm at. I still felt like it was a really enjoyable course. It was fun. It was a beautiful, gorgeous property. Maybe just not playing it 6 times in a week. You know?
Because when I was watching on TV, I was like, there are physically demanding courses, there are mentally demanding courses, and then there are just courses that it's just
Olympus.
Yeah. I mean, and then there are courses that are just a tough course, but it's not physically tough. It's not like mentally tough. It's just a tough course. And I was looking at that course, and I was like, that appears to have all 3 of them.
Yeah, it is difficult in every sense of the word. It is mentally, physically demanding. It is such a demanding course of like every aspect of a disc golfer, And then of course there was some rain, and so there's some slip tee pads and stuff like that. That definitely made it more rough. I know I slipped a couple times. I didn't feel like I slipped too much and didn't really pay attention to it a lot, but I know there were other people that struggled with that a lot. Yeah.
When I was watching it, I was just, I mean, the thing that got me, there was one hole in particular. You're teeing off, and it looks like it's a canyon in between, and then there's the tee pad over there. It's a par 3.
Yeah.
And you can't be short. You basically have to be long on it. And then you have a death putt coming back.
But it's not the distance that they said it was. Like
Mhm.
to the basket was well over 300 feet, but or like close to 300 feet, I think. But it said it was maybe like 240. It's like that is not 240.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the distances were off. So it was like, oh, why aren't you getting over there? It's only 240, but it's like it is not 240. I only got across twice, and it was in a practice round, and it was the same practice round. I only threw 2 throws. I threw a flick, made it over, parked the basket.
Mm-hmm.
I threw backhand first. I was in like circle 2 on the top, and then flicked it and parked the basket. So I had to take my first shot that was circle 2, and I didn't make the putt. But so I didn't birdie it then. I don't think I'm not sure I ever did. I probably birdie. But anyway, it's a tough course to birdie. But yeah, I was very proud of that. I did not get up on the hill any of my actual rounds, but I was very proud that I got up on my practice round, because it's a tough shot. It really is.
I mean, because when I was looking at that hole in particular, it's like that is a beautiful hole, but it looks terrifying. What was your favorite hole on that course and your least favorite hole on that course?
I'd say my least favorite hole was probably hole 10.
Mm-hmm.
And not because it's like a bad hole. I just couldn't seem to figure it out. Then a couple times I just like missed easy putts. So one round I had like a circle, like edge of circle 1 putt, went long, and then I missed my comebacker. And then another one I had like a 15-footer or something, and I missed it, and I got like bogey on it when I shouldn't have. I did par it once. But yeah, I don't know. It was just a tough hole to figure out. I don't think I did a part of it was I don't think I did a good job of like really figuring out what the best shot was for it, since I have a really good forearm, but I also injured myself beforehand. So for a lot of the practice rounds, I couldn't practice my forearm. So I was doing mostly backhand, which I felt like was half broken because all of the stuff that had happened, and I'm reworking it and everything. So it was a weird way to practice. Like I've never had a situation where I've like my flick is my money maker. So I say like flick and forehand, same thing, is my money maker. And then I can't use it. I can't practice it at all because I injured myself. Thankfully that like figured itself out by the time the tournament came, but I had already practiced a lot of the holes using a backhand. So even during the tournament, sometimes I came to a hole and I was like, okay, I can throw a flick now. So I'm actually going to flick on this hole. But all I did was practice a backhand, So I feel like that hole is just like it's just with the hill and the trees and where they were positioned. It was just a really, really tough hole. And 18 was kind of rough just because it was really hard to get in the fairway, but I did one time. I was super happy with that.
Did you throw a forehand on that to get in the fairway?
Yes, I did. And I was just barely in the fairway. I almost went OB to the left.
Mm-hmm.
And then I threw a beautiful shot to the little landing zone hill thing. And because I was even debating every round, the first round I threw OB my first shot, and then I intentionally threw OB my second shot because I was like, well, that's going to get me up to the top of the hill.
Yeah.
My 6. That's fine.
I feel like they're going to change that next year.
Yeah, we'll see. I like glad that they did that, honestly. So throw down the mountain, it was a par 4 for F. And they didn't have any of the drop zones. And so not the one up top. They had like the one down bottom. So people got like 10s and 15s on that hole.
Oh, great day.
Really, like FBO players, like it was rough. So I think part of the reason was they were trying to make sure that didn't happen. Because
yeah, I can see that. Just for time, really.
Well, yeah, time, and they don't have the distance. It is very hard to get on top of that hill, especially.
It looks massively steep on TV.
Yeah. So I threw up. So the one time I was inbounds, through my approach shot. It was great. This is where I'm like limping on my leg. I can hardly walk. I'm in a lot of pain with my ankle or my heel. And I threw up and I thought the shot looked great, but it ended up going OB on the top to the left, or like far left. And I was like, man, that like shot looks so great. And I'm hobbling up and I get up to the top and then I made my putt for par, and I saved
Nice.
par by making the putt from the drop zone on 18.
Nice. Yeah, the last round, Missy missed that putt. And that surprised me.
Yeah.
Did you stick around for the ending of it for the FPO?
Because I injured myself, I could hardly, like, I couldn't walk. I was in
Mhm.
a pain. My whole body was just real, like, not doing great at all.
Yeah.
I felt pretty bad.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, I was driving like an hour and a half one way
Oh,
back
wow.
every day. And so I
Okay.
didn't feel good. And so Andy actually went and got the car and came and picked me up because I like couldn't walk very well. And then we drove back home, and I uh, got like an Epsom salt bath and slept as
Mhm.
as possible. And I was so excited that I could like sleep in finally, because I've been getting up at like 4 a.m. every single morning for these tee times
That's
to
brutal.
this massive, massive, difficult course.
I will tell you, I'm a huge fan of Evelina. And when she threw her second shot on 18 and it got up to the top, not
Yeah.
gonna lie, I had tears of joy. I was so happy for her. All the struggle she's had the last few years with her putting, I was like,
Yeah. I think so many people are really, really excited for her. I don't know her personally super
Mhm.
well, but I'm definitely rooting for her. And I was very, very excited to see that her hard work has paid off. And I mean, she's
Mhm.
definitely just been, I mean, that's a story of like perseverance and just
Mhm.
continuing to give your all and go at it and work hard through some really challenging situations that were, difficult to overcome,
Mhm.
and be able to get to that point to where you win such a big tournament at an extremely difficult course, and to be shooting well over 1,000 rated rounds, to win. It's just, I think we're all like very, very excited for her and happy that she had her disc golf pro tour win at the
Yeah,
beginning.
I mean, it was funny when they said her last event was the tournament that got cut short for COVID.
Oh wow.
I was like, holy cow. Wow. But man, just to see her struggles, see her come back. I mean, to literally be a meme for bad putting for a long time.
Yeah, it's so, I feel so bad for her. Like I hate that happened, but I get what people do, but still,
Mhm.
yeah, that had to have been such a struggle. I mean, to be in that position anyway, and then have to, deal with all of the, I'm sure all of the comments that she gets. I can't imagine like
Mhm.
going through that. I feel like I get frustrated when people like every video I post, people want to like comment on form and stuff, but that's nothing compared to, people picking apart a part of your disc golf game and constantly, you know, talking very negatively about it. I can't
Mhm.
imagine like what she's had to go through like emotionally because of all of that, and to overcome that and to work hard and to push and to do as amazing of a job as she's done. I think speaks volumes for, who she is as a person.
Mhm.
So again, I don't know her personally, but hopefully I'll get to know her a little better. But I'm very excited for
Hey, y'all will be on lead cars together.
her.
Believe it. Just believe it.
That's the plan.
I mean, that's one of the things I'm trying to be positive with people. Like I try to post like little positive comments. I'm sure most of the time they never even see them. But like with her, I was like, just trust the process. It's going to happen. You're going to get that game back. I know you will. I have faith in you. I know you will. And same thing for Henna. Henna has that same putting issue. It's like, is it a Finland thing? I don't know. But I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud of what they've done, and I want to see Ella get her win. I know that's coming too.
hmm
I
Yeah.
mean, like her tournament last year, where 18th hole she threw it in the trees, and Kristen finished off and got the win. I was like,
Yeah. That was hard. Yeah, that was difficult. Because you're really like cheering for them, and obviously we love Kristen, and we love to see Kristen win, and she's a beast. But it's also really cool to see a lot of these girls that have just been putting time in for so many years,
mhm.
and to be able to get that win. So yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of that this year. I'm excited to see it. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's
Kristen rookie card.
Yay.
That's been a thing I've been starting to do, starting to get into the cards.
Yeah.
Yours should be coming soon. Better.
We'll have to talk to him about it.
Yeah, yeah, get in touch with Brexton for that.
Yeah.
Who are some of the players you've played with? And again, you know me, I like the positive stories. I don't want to hear like a fist fight out there. Some of the people you've played with and got to know, and just like, you know what, I admire this person, and I actually got to play with them type of things.
Yes. So it was really interesting because I mean I moved up pretty quickly in disc golf because I got really good very quickly, and so I didn't know a lot of.
No bragging, no bragging.
It's not what I'm saying.
I suck.
I didn't know a lot of the people, so there were like huge names. I mean, I didn't even know. I had no clue who like Juliana Corver was for a long time, and of course I do now, and she's
love
amazing.
Juliana.
Friends, really, she's awesome. But I didn't know a lot of these names, so I'm meeting these people, and I'm like, oh, like okay, cool, I have no idea who they are. But Juliana Corver is one of them that I've played with, and she's just such an amazing person. Really, really love her. She's super positive and supportive. Very fun. Owen Scoggins. Owen
is a legend.
Yeah, Owen is amazing. She's a boss. She just is. Like her out there at I was able to watch in person for a little bit of the putting competition for the All-Star weekend. Through like I'm sure a lot of people at home saw it via the Disc Golf Network. But just watching her out there just draining putt after putt after putt after putt, and these are really difficult lines too.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. But so the very first time I met Owen was actually at the Open at Austin. And the very first round, I was on a card with Owen and Missy Gannon. And it was supposed to be Paige Shue. I'd actually been on a card with Paige Shue before for the qualifier for Throw Pink. She actually was one of the two that won that to Throw Pink. But I got to
world champion.
But I think her daughter got sick, so she was not there. So we had a threesome. It was Owen, Missy, and myself. And we had just such a fun time. It was really awesome playing with them. So Missy's another one that I've played with. I've played with Ella a couple times now. She's been really fun. Erica Stitcombe, I'm sure I'm saying, but she's such a cool person. I got to play with her once. I played with, like Sarah Holcomb, Jessica Weiss. She was super fun. This actually past weekend, I got to play 3 holes with Paige Pierce and Big Germ. I
saw pictures.
Yeah, and I met Paige Pierce at like US Women's 22. I was practicing with Macy Valadiaz and Jamie, and met her for a little bit. So I've also had practice rounds with them. I've had practice rounds with Kat Murch, Deanne Carey, Tim Barham, some other people. So yeah, like a lot of really cool names. And I don't know, I just like them. They're just cool people.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So who would your dream card be?
So Owen would definitely be on it. Juliana Corver and Kat Murch.
Kat?
Yeah.
She seems like she has too much energy.
Well, if you think Kat has too much energy, then Owen has too much energy.
Well, Owen to me is a showman. She will talk to a tree. I mean, there's just people out there clapping. She's like, "Hey, you're clapping for me. All right."
Yeah, I've got to hang out with Kat multiple times, and she's a really cool person, and I like her a lot. So I feel like my dream card would be people who I really look up to and respect as female disc golfers, and I feel like we would just have such a fun time. And there are a lot of other people that I would have an amazing time with being a card. But if I were to make my dream card, I would say those would be the 3.
Okay. Now I do have a Kat Murch story. At US Women's this year, I bring that up a lot because that's one of the 2 tournaments I've been to. There was one of the holes where I was following lead card, and they go off across a bridge, and then the other card is actually coming across. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to jump behind this card, and Kat was on that card, and I just kind of walk up. I'm like 30 feet behind her. I'm not close or anything, obviously. and she had just thrown her shot. And she's dancing. She's dancing. She has no idea I'm standing there. Again, a good 30 feet away. She just kind of looks at me like, what are you doing here? I mean, she didn't say anything, no ill will or anything. I want that understood. I mean, I was like, should I even be watching this group play since I was watching them? I don't know. So I followed them to the next hole, and they just kind of looked at me like, why are you here? It was just funny to me. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to wait for the next group to come along.
So I had sort of like an opposite story the first time I met Kat. So I just played the qualifier for Throw Pink. That was 22. And I had seen Kristen Tatara a couple times, and then finally I just saw her again, and I was like, you know what? I don't have a picture with her, so like I got a selfie with Kristen real quick, and that was the first time I had ever met her in person. And then I was just like the qualifier was over. I played it the course blind, of course. And so I just wanted to play a couple of the holes for fun, and so I got on the iconic hole. And I'll also say that, the one that's like the triple Mando that you have a lot of people getting the aces and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I pretty much parked it during the qualifier round and had a very easy putt for birdie, and I missed the putt.
Oh,
but I 10, 15, like 15 feet at most from the basket. Very first time I ever played the course, had never thrown the hole, and I parked that hole. So that was like my claim to fame. I was like, yay. It's just disc golf is so exciting in that way, right? You have, and it's cool to keep that excitement of like, oh, I've never played this hole and I birdied it, or I've played this hole so many times and I've never birdied it, and then I finally birdie it, and you're so excited about it, right? It's just, there's so many cool moments like that in disc golf, and keep them. So I know this is kind of a little off topic, but I want to encourage people as a disc golfer, like, be excited about things, find little things to be happy about, whether it's about your own attitude or your mood. Like if you say if normally you get upset about something and then you didn't get upset about it, celebrate that, be happy about it. If say you normally get like a bogey on a hole, or you always par it and then you birdie it, or you par it and you never have done that before, then be excited about it, be happy about that. Celebrate those moments, and then when you play a hole really terribly that you don't normally play terribly, be like, yeah, well, that happens too.
Yeah. I was like, hey, what can you do?
Yeah. So anyway, I was practicing a couple of holes, see Kristen, and then I'm going to one last hole. It's getting very dark, and so it was the last hole that I was going to be able to play again. I can't remember what hole it was. And I go up, and there's a big group there. I didn't really know who Kat Merch was. Like, I had seen her before, but I didn't really know who she was. That gives you an idea of just how kind of like clueless I was about a lot of the people in disc golf and who was who. Because obviously Kat Merch is very well known.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw her and was like, okay, I think I know who that was. And there was like a big group of people that she was with, and they were all playing the card. And I come up and I have like these neon yellow, super bright leggings and pineapple, this like teal with pineapples all over it, like different colors, really bright, vibrant shirt that I actually wore like this past weekend. It's like a Discraft shirt. And so I'm like, super bright outfit. She like comments on it. She's like, oh, I really like your outfit, or whatever. And I'm like, oh, thanks. And so we play the hole, and then Kat and I just start talking. Like, there's this whole big group, and we just are talking. And then she ends up like driving me back to my car, and then we've just become friends there. And then we've been friends ever since. So yeah, I love Kat Merch. She's awesome.
That is awesome. See, I would love to talk to her because, she's going to break into her Macho Man Randy Savage at some point. Me being a diehard wrestling fan, I was like, that'd be cool too. But by the way, Kat Merch rookie card. Yeah. I've gotten addicted to these lately because I've been a card collector my whole life. So there you go. So yeah, just talk to Kat, send her over my way so we can have her on the podcast.
Yeah, we'll have to have her on here soon.
Wow. Geez, I think I've actually gone through everything on here. That's crazy.
Yep, and only in less than 2 hours
In
too.
less than 2 hours. You know what? Teaching. How did you get into that part of disc golf? I know you mentioned it a little bit earlier. I mean, do you just you post some videos on Instagram? Are you only working with the female players, or are you helping male players as well?
Male and female. In fact, for the longest time, I really hadn't got the opportunity to help any female players because I just didn't know any. So I
Mhm.
given lessons mostly to male players. Um, so yeah, but now I would say I'm actively giving lessons to four four females and one like a couple male. It's kind of like on and off because I'll give lessons and a lot of times I'll sort of like help give support later on. Like people
Mhm.
can send me their form video and I'll
Mhm.
maybe give a couple notes and stuff. So I think a lot of people are sort of hesitant to do the virtual lessons, but
Oh, oh.
because I can really like spend a lot of time focusing on your form, looking
Mhm.
over videos in slow mo, and then I can take a bunch of screenshots and tell you like, okay, this and this is what's happening, and then I'll sort of break it down for you. And of course, I have some of the uh, disc golf lesson series that I've started. I had one that I did last year that I finished that was like 12 short videos. They're all like reels on Instagram. And I started those like I think even later in the year. So I think they all started at like October. And then I started a new one at the beginning of this year and haven't got too many out for that. But I try to keep it kind of simple and like focus on a specific area, but that's also like important. And there are many different ways to do particular things or so maybe the way I do it isn't for you, but if I can help people, then I love being able to give back to the disc golf community. I've certainly got a lot from this community and I love being able to teach and help other people. And yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not the type of person that I'm on the course and I see someone's form and I'm like, oh, let me give you advice. Like, I'm not going to do that. But if you want to ask me for help, like I'm more than I
Yep.
love being able to help and teach. And of course, giving lessons right now is another way that I'm fundraising, so I've raised, a few $100s even this year just from giving lessons, and that can help me as well. And then it helps someone else as well, But I love being able to give lessons, and I give lessons for free too, like if someone doesn't have the means, like I still want to be able to help them if I can. But yeah.
All right, let me answer this question because, like in baseball, there's different ways to set up, but when you get into that hitting zone, it's like everybody's almost the exact same.
Hmm.
So, like in disc golf, I see someone like Matt Oram. He's got a totally different swing from someone like Paul McBeth, Paige Pierce. And it's like, but when they get into the pocket, they're all in a similar spot.
Hmm.
Do you try to put people in the beginning spot the same, or just like, you know what, just get to, if you get to here, you're going to be all right. But or how do you go with that?
um I so lessons initially can be very overwhelming and a lot of information. So I always tell
Mm-hmm.
people, I'm like, hey, you're going to get a lot of information. Don't worry about it. You're not going to be able to work on all of it. But I try to direct people to like, what is the most important thing to work on now? And obviously, it depends on what stage you're at. So, say you've been playing disc golf for years and you've just created really bad habits in your form. Well, I'm going to go about that very differently for you, and a lot of the stuff that I'll give you, a lot of people would be like, well, that's kind of boring to do, like I'm very big on mirror work. It helps so much to be able to actually see what your body is doing and try to break some of those aspects down. So in that case, if it wasn't a problem, then maybe I wouldn't be particular about certain aspects of their form that has been ingrained in them. But if it's directly related to the issue that they're having, like they're rounding or they're swooping or, they're not bracing correctly or something like that, then yeah, if it's a part of that, then I'm going to go back and say, okay, we need to like rework this. And that's going to require um, a lot of repetition in that area because you're doing something and it's going to feel extremely weird the entire time. That's okay though.
Mm-hmm.
But you have me, I'll help you along with it and go through it. I'm actually working with a girl, Leah. She's well, Jenna Aaliyah. And we're going to be working together a lot this year. And she actually made a post, like a public post about, hey, I would like to have like coaching and help and stuff. And so I'm helping her, and it's been really cool to like go back and forth with her a lot and go over videos and talk over video calls, go over her form, and like start working on specific areas, and then also go over different aspects that can be changed, but telling her, okay, but don't worry about this right now. You know, like that could be like a later thing. We'll work on that later, but don't worry about that right now. Focus on this for now. So yeah, it can definitely be a reworking of certain things, but you're right. There's, the power pocket is very similar across the board for everyone. You know, they're going to have a pretty similar area to where like maybe a little bit of variation, but it's pretty much the same across the board, depending on like who you're talking about. I mean, like James Conrad is a perfect example of someone who has like a very different like type of run up and setup for his throwing.
Yes. I don't know how he does it. I have no clue.
Years
I've tried to run up and it's a mess.
Yeah, well, I always tell people if they're having problems, like even I did this for a while and still may go back to it, but that is doing a standstill. You know, if you don't have the correct form in your standstill, then your run up is completely ineffective. Like that's not going to help you at all. It's only going to hurt various aspects of your form. So it's better to be able to go back to the standstill. But people don't like doing the standstill because it seems very, you know, even me, it's hard for me. I'll play like FPO and, you know, I'm doing a standstill the whole time. I actually did that for, what tournament was it? It's slipping my mind. Whatever my first tournament of the year, I pretty much did a standstill for my backhand almost the entire time. And you're sitting there like, okay, as an FPO player, I'm not doing a run up. It looks very amateur, right? It looks very basic. But that's sometimes what you need to do, you know, go back to the basics, go into a standstill in which you don't have to worry about the run up getting in the way of the rest of your form. You know, that's like narrowing it down. When I have a really good backhand form, I can throw almost as far with my standstill as I can with my run up. Like I was throwing well over 300 feet from a standstill.
Wow.
When my form was going well. So I had a lot of power. And it's not about being strong. It's all about making your body work for you and not just like muscling it. You know, it's about figuring out that form and maybe being very robotic at first and then going into being able to be very smooth in all of the movements working together for you.
Really, for me, when I watch the FBO players or MPO players as well, the two that stand out for me for seeming the most almost simplistic is the Mondahano sisters. Because when I watch them, it's like they're slow. It seems like they're very deliberate, very methodical, and then they just explode at the end. It's so, to me, when I watch them, like, it's beautiful to watch how simplistic they are. I mean, again, the opposite side is James Conrad, just so completely different. But when I watch those two, the Mondahano sisters, I'm like, great throws, so smooth, so fluid, and it just happens.
Yeah, so I haven't actually seen their form a whole lot.
I can show you their rookie cards.
Of course. But one person that I really was so impressed with her form is Paige Shue.
Yeah.
She's
tiny.
Obviously, Paige Pierce as well. Paige Pierce is just so intentional about her body and everything she does, and really just putting her hips and her whole body into her throw. It's very impressive. Like both of them are, you know, pretty tiny people. But yeah, watching them throw it and make it almost look effortless and it going, you know, like 350, 400 feet, whatever it is. It's beautiful. It's beautiful to watch.
Yeah, I mean, when I watch Paige Shue, I'm baffled how she gets her distance out of it. And I mean Paige Pierce as well, but I mean Shu is just a different level to me. It's crazy watching her, and again world champion too to top that off.
I didn't realize it until I played with her. And then when I played with her, just like the snap she always gets on her throw, and just like, how is this tiny person throwing so far? It was really cool. And she's also just such a sweet, kind person on top of it. So it's like, it's exciting. I love seeing that, like seeing like really kind, really good people succeeding and doing well, and it's cool. But yeah, no, Paige Shu would definitely be someone I'd mention. It's impressive. That's impressive form. Very efficient, very smooth, very yeah, it's good.
Well, I guess technically Paige Bjerkis actually won the world championship. Wow, you disappeared again. That was twice. That was weird.
I've only known her as Paige Shu.
Yeah, well, she got married a few years back, but I always kind of jokingly say that.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah,
but man,
he knew her as Paige. I don't even know how to say that her last name. So like,
I would say Jerkis. I'm probably way off, and if I am, I apologize. I'm terrible with names. I'm the first to say it. I am bad with names. Wow. So 2 hours of fun. Did you have fun?
For anyone who has stuck around the entire time or has watched this after the fact, thank you. You're amazing.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for having me on your podcast. This is my first guest appearance ever on a podcast. So it's very exciting, number one. Thank you for reaching out, for all of your kindness and support. It's been really cool. And then I also just really want to thank my followers and fans and friends and family, and all of the support that I've gotten from them. And of course, I cannot forget my sponsors, Neptune Discs. They have been amazing. Like, really, the people that are behind Neptune Discs is the big reason why I ended up deciding to be sponsored by them. They're just so supportive of their players, and have been very, very kind to me. And I'm definitely a company that I can, stand behind how they treat their players and everything. And then Max Wax, it's like a wax that you use to help like grip the disc. It works in the rain. It works and it's not going to wash off or anything. It works with the dust. They've been super supportive out of Texas. And then Mooglee Dyes, he has dyed so many discs for me. I think like well over 50 or 60 discs that he has dyed for me, and he does not do quick work. Like his discs are such a work of art. So if you get the opportunity, any of these people, you can go and support them. Check out Max Wax, get some of the Neptune discs, check out Mooglee Dyes, his dyes. He just does such an amazing job. And then also Disc Golf Pins. They've been awesome. Check out their pins. They just recently came out with some really cool pins. So, but yeah, can't thank them enough. All of the support from my followers. And like, we don't recognize how much we impact other people sometimes, so I've had so many of my followers that have like encouraged me and supported me at a time that maybe I was very discouraged, and I needed to hear that encouragement. And I don't know how many times I've had like a follower or a friend like on Facebook or Instagram that has sent me just a really kind message that really made my day, so just thank you. Anytime someone chooses kindness and chooses to encourage someone else, so you don't know what people are going through. And I mean, I've certainly had like a tough year, but everyone has so many different things that they go through. Yep. And to choose kindness in those moments, to choose to like not be critical, to choose to be like, hey, how can I like bless this person or help this person? And I know I've been on the receiving end of that so many times, and I'm very, very, very thankful for that. You've been that to me at times, even in the short time that, I've known you. So I want to thank you for that. And yeah, I'm excited for this year. I'm excited for this season. I think it's going to be amazing. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be so much disc golf, so much traveling. Who knows how much I'll be able to play. Some of that is dependent on like how much money I can raise and everything, and if I can find good people to host me. So if you're going to be near an area that we're having a Disc Golf Pro Tour event, then please reach out to me and let me know. But yeah, it's going to be exciting. I can't wait for this year. Yeah, I just feel like I'm getting so much stronger. Energy is better than it's been in an extremely long time, and I'm just excited to see where this year goes. And I'm excited for a lot of other people too to watch their seasons and see how they go.
Okay, now don't hate me. I just came up with 2 more questions.
That's fine.
Actually, Todd Panning, do you watch drone flyovers on YouTube for certain courses before you go play them? Did you hear me? Hello?
You're
Hello?
you're talking to.
I'm talking to you.
Oh, okay. I thought you said Todd. Oh, okay. That's from.
No, Todd asked the question. Do you watch it, the drone flyovers or anything like that before you go to a course? Maybe any YouTube videos ahead of time?
Nope, I've never done that.
Jeez, thanks for not watching my video. No, I'm just kidding.
It's more like a time thing. I wish I could listen to all of the podcasts and could watch all of the disc golf coverage. I think it's so much fun. I love it. I'm just so limited on time, like between keeping up with normal things and then disc golf and training, and it becomes a lot. But I think I've a couple times maybe watched a video or two for like a really important tournament, like for amateur worlds. As soon as I figure out what the course is, I think some of those courses have been recorded for FPO rounds before, and I will probably go on and look at those rounds. But I will also get there way early and do my best to prepare for amateur worlds as much as it's humanly possible,
Right.
So ready to go. And I feel like there's no substitute for just being at a course and trying to play it.
Yes.
And yeah, so no, I haven't done that. It's not that I wouldn't. It's not that I don't think it's valuable or could be very useful. I think it could be really useful, especially for courses in which there are a lot of blind holes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like for me, like when like this year, I'm trying to tour. Meaning by tour is just go around maybe North Carolina, maybe as far down as South Carolina, just to play courses I haven't played before. So I will actually try to find a YouTube video just so I can kind of go, okay, so it goes a little to the left, it goes a little to the right or whatever, just so I can kind of get an idea of where some of the lines may be, even though I'm not going to hit them anyway.
Yeah. Well, mostly I use like UDisc and I look up ratings and stuff, or I have a lot of that have told me, hey, you got to go check out this course. But a lot of the courses I've played are for tournaments. I mean, I have 173 courses on UDisc. I'm looking at it right now, all over the United States that I've played. And most of them, like, I know, I had no idea. And I mean, I've played all of those in like 3 years. So that's a lot of courses.
That is.
Over my 500th round on UDisc. So, yeah.
Wow. I've got 360 rounds. I didn't realize I had that many.
Of course, I know my stats because I'm a nerd like that.
Little pat on the back there. Okay, and the last question is you talked about 2024, the excitement for that. Where do you see yourself maybe in 5 years with your disc golf journey?
Winning pro worlds.
There you go. Why wait? Let's just do it. Let's just do it this year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think the sky's the limits. I don't, what I want to do is I want to stay open to the possibility of anything, be okay with, the lows, but then also realize, hey, I have a lot of potential and I'm going to work as hard as I can. And I love this and I'm super passionate about it. And I'm all in, like this is disc golf found me, it found me when I was in graduate school, just playing ultimate frisbee, working hard in grad school, doing all of that, living my life. And it became kind of my life, And I don't know how to explain it, but I just knew, I knew that that's what I was supposed to be doing. And like I said, like God has shown me a lot of cool things along the way with that and just life in general. And disc golf, if you allow it to be, is something that can really help you grow as a person. Because there's just so many really valuable life lessons to be learned through disc golf. So yeah, I love it. I'm very excited for it. I don't know what the future holds. I'm not in control. And I got cancer. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yep.
But I know what I'm supposed to be doing right now, and that's disc golf. And I'm very excited about the future of that and where God leads with all of it, and where my life goes. And if there comes to a point in which I'm not even capable or able to play disc golf, then I'll figure that out when it happens. But for now, I know what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm excited for it. And yeah, the sky's the limit.
There you go. And that's it. That's exactly it. We're blessed to be able to do stuff while we can. So keep that positive chin up, keep working forward, and hey, one day, I can say I've talked to 2 world champions. Then I talked to Juliana on here, and then I've talked to you. So I've got in the future. Hey, if you believe it enough, you can manifest it. So there we go.
So actually, another fun, really quick story before we end. I actually lived with the Conrads in their basement apartment for a couple months in 22. And one of the times I was visiting there, James and his girlfriend were visiting. And, I told James, I was like, well, he was the first world champion from Blacksburg, but I was going to be the first female world champion from Blacksburg, because that's where I started disc golf, was Blacksburg, Virginia. Mm-hmm. So how cool would it be to have 2, and who knows? I don't know if it's going to happen, but like I said, the sky's the limits.
I don't really count Blacksburg as part of Virginia, but I'm just saying, Charlottesville, go Who's, woo!
Yeah, well, I love Blacksburg. I think it's amazing. I'm not as big of a Virginia Tech fan as some people, but I did get my master's in chemical engineering from there, but definitely had definitely had some rough times at Virginia Tech for sure. But sky's the limits for disc golf, and 2 world.
Well, I'm sorry, I had to get the shot in there.
Yeah.
It's mandatory. But,
yeah, my sister actually went there. She got her master's from UVA.
For some reason, I knew I liked her, and I never met her. Rebecca, thank you so much for spending your time. And, obviously we're going to be keeping in touch for a lot. And in August, finally get to meet in person, hopefully, and chat, and hopefully just see you out there just dominating some stuff. And by the way, I've heard the FPO course is not going to be just the shorts at New London. I've heard there's going to be a mix of longs and shorts, according to you, Disc.
Oh.
So that means I have to go make another video, but that's okay.
Yeah. Nice. Well, it has definitely been a pleasure, and best of luck to you in your traveling and your YouTube channel. And I hope it's an amazing year, and happy disc golfing.
It's going to be, it's a great journey. It's a great journey. Thank you again, Rebecca. And tell the mister I said hello. Hopefully I get to meet him up here too. So that'd be great as well.
Yep.
Anything else?
I think that's it. Hopefully I didn't forget anything. It was certainly be bad since I had over 2 hours to think of all the things, but
Sponsor links and stuff down below. I should have said that a while back. We have links down below to Neptune, to your Instagram, and something else when I can't remember right offhand. But there's another link that I know I had 3 links down below.
Get you the links for Max Wax and Mooglee Dyes too, because I know that they have some links as well.
Yeah, you send me those links. I'll be sure to have those down below. But again, thank you, Rebecca, for your time. A lot of fun. And that's all we got. And you guys have an incredible day.